Okay. So now here I'm having Python 3.7.1. So what I need to do is to look at the parts, then I can select any one, different Python, then I have 3.11 point, I have 3.1.10, can select 3.1 or 3.9. That depends on the one you are using. Also use the one I'm using. Don't go and use your own. So what you need to do is that now one thing about Python is that um, Python runs in the terminal. Unlike HTML and CSS, where you have to print it in the browser. Python does not run in the browser. It runs in the terminal. Are we together? Are we together? You don't run Python in the browser. You run the Python in the terminal. That's why you run Python. You run Python in the terminal. Don't run Python in what? In their browser. Yes. You run Python in the terminal. So that is what you want. You also need to understand about Python. You run your Python in the terminal. So we're going to be looking at um, Python comment. Um, Python comment. Now uh, Python comment, to write Python comment, let's look at what the document have for us. Let's go back there. Now, in Python program, in computer programming, comments are the hints that we use to to are the hint to we use to make our code more readable. You want to know what comment is all about? I don't have to be explained to you what comment is all about. You know what is comment. So comment can serve as two things. You can use it to disable your code for not displaying on a browser, or you can use it to write explanation on the code to make your code more understandable. Comments are completely ignored by interpreter. They are meant for uh, follow programmers to understand. Now, comments are meant for your fellow programmer to understand what your code. Now, the way we write Python in CSS and HTML, sorry, the way we write comment in CSS and HTML is not the way we write in Python. Python has what we call single line comment and multi-line comment. So you're going to be looking at those single line comment and what, and also multi-line comment. So to create a comment in Python, you need what we call a hash, and their Python will ignore every program that is coming for hash. So now let's look at comment, and also let's try to print something on our terminal. This is our first thing we're going to print on our terminal. So to print something on the terminal, you need to write print. So I've said earlier that Python is just like you writing normal English. So there is no difference with English and Python. It's almost the same thing. So now let's look at the syntax of writing print. Now when you type print, what you need to do, type print. Now this is what we call print. Another thing also you need to also understand about Python is that when you type print, you open bracket and close your bracket. Here is the what inside there is what we're about to print. If you want to print a normal, hold on, okay, sorry. If you want to print a normal message in Python, a string or a letter, we're going to be looking about string integer. We're going to be looking about those things earlier. Want to print a normal message in Python? This is what you need to do. You open semicolon. Is it semicolon? Yes. You open columns. Then you can use two columns, the one that have two, then and also the one that have one. Now I can say hello skyline. Now Python does not have does not have, you don't need to put any closing. Immediately type it, that is the end of it. And nothing also, Python is very case sensitive. We're going to be talking about that as well. Now I can decide, okay, I want to write a comment that explain about this particular code. I can say use my hash, um, this could explain about printing and terminal. So these are actually the comments on Python. Now, how do you print this on your computer screen? There are two ways to print this. You can either you use what's that called? You can either you use external terminal or use inbuilt terminal. VS Code has its own inbuilt terminal. You can try to use VS Code inbuilt terminal or use your external terminal. But let me use external terminal for example now so that you understand what I'm trying to explain. All right. Git badge. So I can build WD to know where I am. CD desktop and ls to see all the list of directory I'm having here. I think that the files is I think should be this back end training. So I have to just copy that. CD. Wanna go? What better with me? Tell your mama, let you go and put food for man of God. Tell your mama, let you go and put food for man of God. Okay, these are Python training. Then okay, CD. Due to the space, I added the space. I added it. I added space. Let me go back there and try to use underscore. Try to use underscore. Okay, I use underscore. Let me clear all this. Then okay, okay. CD Python underscore training. I'm around my VS. Okay, even the Python training itself is having space. Okay, okay. Right, Python underscore training. Let me copy that. Let me copy that. CD. Okay, we are in Python training now. Let me see what I have here. Realize. Okay, I have Python comments. Let's see the inside the Python comment also. Masking? Oh, no, better, my network is strong. Okay, all right. Yes, Moses Olaka. Okay. Yeah, Moses, I can hear you. We are not using PyCharm. PyCharm is an editor. PyCharm is IDM. PyCharm is an IDM. Although we don't use IDM, what we use editor. So what issue are you having? Huh? So Oblaka, what issue are you having? Is Olaka there? All these all these people. Okay. So what I need to do now is I'm already in my Python file. I can have comment.py. I can I can call the comment.py. Okay, cat comment.py. Okay, you can see this is what we have here, right? We have this the code inside here. So that's what we have, right? So um comment. Don't know why this is not running, but notwithstanding. So let also go and run this thing. Let's come and run this code from our Visual Studio. So what you need to do, you come here, look at this place. Hmm? 50. You come here, hmm, then click on run code. You can click on run code or file. So run code. So Python has its own inbuilt terminal. He has his own inbuilt terminal already. Let's run it again. Py modus. Let me see. It's like I'm having some issues. Okay, I've been able to run successfully. So you can see that we're having this code explain about Python. Okay, you can see the code we have here, right? Um, so you can see that we have this code, hello skyline. Let me just delete all this. Run that. Okay, you can see it here. So how many of you have been able to run the first Python code? Who else have done it? We will leave and call you. Who else have done it? Betan, Betan, call Betan for me. Who else have done it? Huh? If you know you have done it, indicate. If give person, if you didn't give him, It's only one person I've done. Okay, Moses, Musa, have you been able to run your own code? Run it first now. Run it first. Run it first. It will run. If you run, that means they run it first. Run your code first. I'm gonna stop for any question regarding Python comment. So now, what we are going to be talking about now is what we call variables. Um, in programming language, or when you are developing software, the information in their software are stored in the database. But before you store those information in the database, you need to store this information temporarily in your code. Then after you store this information, you can now move this information or save this information in the database. Now variables are containers that stored or hold data. So they are containers that hold data for you. They are just like temporal place where you can store your files. Now, let me give a real world example of what variable does. For example, you are adding something in a cart. You want to order something online, add that, add something in the cart. Now, what temporarily hold those numbers is what we call variables. So variables are containers that that you can store different kinds of data, temporarily store different kinds of data. You can use this data for any purpose you can imagine. So, in other words, they are just like plates where you store in something. It all depends on what you want to use that, what you really want to use that thing for. It all depends on you. So they are just temporary storage where you store your what? Your data. Now assigning value to variables. As we see from our next example, we use the assignment operator to assign a value to our what? To our variable. So variables are simple names and words like you can say products. So they are just names. This is what we call variables. So they use them to temporarily store information. In fact, a program without variable is useless. A program without variable is useless. Without variable, there's nothing you can do in program because everything you do in a website before you will set them in a database, you will first of all store them in a variable. Are we communicating? Are we communicating? Now we're going to be looking at how to write variables. Variable have two types of variables. We have the global variables and the local variables. So we're going to be looking at the area regarding the global variables and the area of the local variables. Also, we're going to be looking at about how to assign the legal and illegal variables, how to assign the right variables, what and what you don't need to do when assigning the variables. So we are going to be looking at this variable in Python. Very, very important, interesting, very, very interesting course. tonight. Hmm, just tired. Okay, let's move ahead, guys. All right. So let's look at the variable scope in Python. So first thing we need to do first is to see how to assign a variable. As I said that a variable is classified into two scope, the local variables and the global variables. Now let's talk about the local variables. Now local variables are declared inside a function, while the global variables are declared what outside what the function. I don't want to talk about function now, but when we get to the function, we'll talk about that function. So let me create a file called variable, a folder. I thought I created the folder called comment. Okay, okay, let me start. So my variable UI. Okay, so this one will have variable, right? Now let me say for instance, we want to store some information in a variable. We want to store some information in the variable. Then this is how we are going to be getting this information and how we're going to be storing this information in the variable. So we look at that this way. It's okay. Um, we have a list of products, but before then, let's look at what our manners. Let's follow the scope of this trading. All right. Um, Variable do not need to be declared with any particular type and can even change the type after they have been set. So we want to assign a variable, then also declare a variable and print this variable. If you notice earlier, when we want to print hello world, hello skyland, we use what we call is it hyphen or semicolon? I think we use column, please. Is this in column? Is it called column? Uh, is this in column? It's column, right? Uh, Quotation mark. Okay, quotation mark. All right. It's okay. It's okay. Now, let's try to store some variables, right? Okay, I can say company name. Now, this is a company, this is a variable. Variable are also case sensitive. We're going to be talking about that. Let's just take it very easy. You understand what variable is? Variable are like um, like container where we store information. Now, yes, where we store information. And if you notice, we did a bit of variable in JavaScript. I just did the basic storing of those information. Now, let's say company. Now, variable also does not require space. Like writing company name is an invalid variable. It's illegal variable. It's illegal variable. So variable does not require space. If you want to add space in variable, you don't need to use underscore. Eh? Right? Now when you call in a variable, you assign equals to. Now this is equals to now where you then store the information. Let's say the company name, I want to store information. Yeah, say Skyline ICT Consult Ltd. Now this is a variable. I've stored a variable here. this thing have been stored. So anytime I want to use this, I'll just call upon company names. And when I call upon company names, what I will see is what Skyline ICT Consult what Limited. Are we together? Are we together, guys? Good. Good. Did it there at all? Or it didn't do? All right. That's good. Now let's also look at stalling number. This is what we call strings. These strings. Eh? Now when we get to data type in Python, then we will now differentiate streams and integers. We're going to talk about the difference between stream and integers and how to write the stream and how to write integers. So we're going to be looking about it, but we'll take it process, gradual gradual process. Now let's see how we can write store numbers. You can store any kind of data type you want to store in variables. So let's say age of students. The age of student equals to no, Imaro is about 60 years. So the age of student 60, right? Uh, I don't pass 60. Uh, okay. Let's fire down. Okay. Tomorrow 75. 25 years. 25. All right. Now, what you are going to do now is to print it out. Now, to print this variable out, now if you notice earlier, when we want to print something like, we want to print something like, what's they call it, stream. Hello, what we use this quotation, this quotation we use it to print it. But now what you are going to do is to print this with the variable. So if you are calling a variable, you don't need to put this question mark again, this quotation. You don't need to put quotation again. All you need to do is to call company. When you call it, you can see the automatic comes up because it's a variable. You have stored it in between the environment. So you can just call upon this man. Now, if I print this company name now, what will appear here is Skyline ICT Consult Limited, ignoring this string. So this here is what we call integer, int. I call it int, which is a short form of integers. So let me print that out. So you notice that you can see that we have a variable called Skyline ICT Limited. Let's print another variable also. So we have a student, then print that. So have you seen it now? So these are a way you can be able to print variables in your program. So we've been able to print this variable scanning ICT, and then we're able to print this. This is where you can be able to call in variable in Python. Let's move ahead also. If you want to specify data type of a variable, this can be done. Now another thing also, as I said earlier, every data you stored on your every data you stored on your machine or on your software has data type. So data type is what we use to recognize different kind of data we are storing on our machine. Let's say example now, those picture you are seeing has the data type of binaries. The right top prices has their own data type. Now let's say for instance now we have average equals to 7.0. Now who can tell me this data type? I need a system who can tell me, did you not mention all these data types? These three data types, you tell me the data types. Student, I'll call names to I'll call names to Course rep, course, course rep. Uh, you are here. Oh yeah, tell us the data types of this thing I just printed out now. All of them. H of 10 is what? Is what? Okay. Average is what? Who can help us out? Okay. That is a float, right? It's actually a float. So in order to know this, if you want to comment, you hold your control and forward slash, then you have your comment. The way you do that in HTML and CSS, still the same thing you do it there. Do it here. So now, let's say, for example, I want to print the types of this. Want to print the types of this. What's it called? The types of these. Uh, What's it called? Variables. So I can say print, then the type. Come on, see, come on. Then the type. I say okay, average. Now when we print this out, it will display the type of this object in the browser. So it's also good to know the type of every object you are going for. Average is not defined. Average is not. It's the name. Average is not defined. Um, it doesn't have to do with the spelling. It has nothing to do with the spelling. Name average is not defined. Okay, okay. I think the name is not allowed for us to use. Okay, okay. You already printed it out. So you can see the type. What are the types of this element? Um, have, have you not seen the type? Look at the type here now. Have you not seen the type? I cannot see the type. The type is float. So it's also very important to know the types of elements you are working with. If you don't know the type of element you are working with, you wouldn't know what to do with those types. So it's very, very important to also know the types of the elements you are working with, right? We're going to look around looking about data type, but that should be in the future when we proceed to the project. So let me type age. So age. Then the next one here is we're going to be looking at the company name, print, type. So the type has its own functions. So these are functions. We're not looking about functions. So at least the functions we have. So this computer type. So you can see list of type we have here. Okay, I would just decide to say okay, like add some few things here. Uh, that what we call concatenation. Concatenation is a process of joining two different types together, right? Call it concatenation. Now, if you want to concat in Python, you can use comma, then we type the name of object, or can use this like this form of dot, this question mark, quotation mark to do that. So let me concatenate. I can say okay, uh, this is 7.0, right? So also have here, um, this is 76. Then we also have here, this is company name, right? So now have you seen it? So this 7.0 is float type. Then the 76 is integer. While the 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 company name is string. So these are the most three popular use data type in Python. We have various data type. We have like complex, we have binaries, but these are the most uh, three popular Python type used. Popular elements, popular types of Python used in elements. So another thing also we need to understand is Python are very case sensitive, very case sensitive. Now, for example, now let me show you when I'm talking about a Python are very sens- case sensitive. I would like to understand. Now we have company name with small letter. Let me copy this and duplicate this and change this. Now, if we change this to company name, capital letter C, this company name, this company name, which is big letter, and small company name are not the same. I can decide, okay, let me just change this company name to just Skyline ICT. Now, if you print these two objects, right? If you print these two objects now, this company name and company name is definitely not the same because um, variables are very case sensitive. So you need to understand that variables are case sensitive. Then when you are calling them, you know how to call them. Now let me print that company name. I'll just print it here. Then capital letter C. So we have company name, which is the capital letter. Then let's print that out. Okay, you can see the company name ICT, right? I can just decide to do, okay, let me concatenate. So I need to put, and note that whenever you have anything like underscore red, means that something is wrong with their code is not working well. So we have to look at that and fix that then before you also move ahead. Okay, you can see company name here, Skyline ICT. So you can notice that the variables are very case sensitive. So let's move ahead to other ones, see what we have here. Now, variable names. Variable names have short names like X and Y or more descriptive name. So variable, your variable must have a very good descriptive name. The name of whatever you want to store should be similar with the name of your variable. You not say it's just a good pattern of doing that. Let's you want to store age of student, you just use age underscore student, then you store those age of student. Now, variable must start with a letter or underscore. You cannot start variable with capital with just normal numbers or symbols. No, it's not possible. Now let me show you what I mean when I say symbols or characters or symbols or numbers. Now I can just say, okay, I want to start variable with this. It will not work. Have you seen it? It will not work. So if you assign anything here, definitely will not work. So variables should start with letters and also should not start with symbols. Then move ahead. Secondly, Python variables cannot start with a numbers. I've said that earlier. A variable can only contain alphanumeric characters and underscore. So a variable can contain alphanumeric characters, can contain numbers, but not at the beginning, right? Not at the beginning. And variable are names are case sensitive. I've already explained that. I've actually explained all of those ones and about Python. Uh, multi-word variables. I think I've already explained that. That you only want to write your variable. You should make sure that your variable name is actually case sensitive. Now, another thing we're also going to be looking at here is that multi-value variable, multi-value variables. Now, when we talk about multi-value variables, it's like we can store our variable in multiple way. If you notice earlier, we just use one single variable to store our one variable. Now, there's also a way you can store multi-variables with uh, multi-variables with multi-characters. Now, let me explain what I mean multi-variable with multi-characters. Now, this is what we have here. For instance, we have like, let's say, multi. Are we together, guys? Hello? Multi variables and value. All right. Let's say we're having students. Student name, yes, age, um, department, okay. Then the name is mhm. The moment I give you my name, Skyline, right? Then age is 20 years. Then department is okay. Here are multiple variables, right? Now these multiple variables now, if you want to print, right? If you want to print these multiple variables, we can just print this way. Student name. Now student name now will give us this man. Let's see what happens. They're going to give us the first variable. What do you have here? Invalid syntax. Invalid syntax. Don't have any. You're telling us invalid syntax means that the um that we use a syntax that is not a pattern that is not accepted. So a pattern that is not acceptable. Let's see where the error is coming from. Invalid syntax line. What is it? Line one? Code runner. I think this is not an error. Let's check. Okay, it's not an error. So this is what we have here. Have you seen it? We have a Adamu, which is student name Skyline. So we want to decide you can have multiple, can call it multiple variable. You can use age 20, then department. So you can see that we've been able to. Um, so you notice we've been able to print we're able to print those names. Another thing also we're also going to be looking at is to see how we can also print this individually. You can say, okay, you want to print it individually. You can say, want to print age. Doesn't matter the first one you are printing first. You want to print age. You can see we have 20 years old. Then we can also concatenate to make it more readable. Their age is their age is 20. Now let's print this. Now you can notice here age is what is 20. So make it more readable. Can decide to add this here. Then so your age is what? Your age is 20. So that is how we can be able to create multiple rods variables. So I think that is what we have there. Multiple value variables. So then look at what we call one value variables, right? One value variables, and then after we look at one value variables, we also look at what we call the unpacking of different kind of what variables. Then what we look into list and other Python types. So we think we're able to do that. So this is what we have here in this section. Then we also have what we call one value to multiple variables. One value to multiple variables. Also the same case where you have orange. This orange that if you call any of the variable, it will still print orange for you. So that's what we have there. That another one is that unpacking unpack a collection of variables. Now, if you have collection of variables in a list or tuple, we're going to be talking about list. I think it's too early now for us to talk more about list. And Python allow you to extract the value into variables. This is called unpacking. Now, unpacking is the process of extracting something from a list. But I'm not going to be talking about this, but it should be when we go into list, then we'll talk more about that. Now, let's look at global variables, right? The global variables. Then we look at all the variables we have been calling earlier are see global and local variables. Now, how can we differentiate what is global variables and what is local variables? Now, this now brought us what we call a function. This now brought us what we call what a function. What is the function? How do we identify a global variable and a local variable? Now, if the variables that are created outside of a function are known as what? Global variables. While variables are created in between the function are known as what? Local variable. It means that those variables you cannot call them outside the function. That make them local variable. While global variable, you can call them in or outside the function. They are not variables that are stored inside the function. Now, what is function? Who can tell me what is function? Who can tell me what is function? I need somebody, a class, I need someone that can volunteer and tell us what is the function. You said, okay, who can help us? Who can assist us? Well, are we there? Hello? Okay, then look at function. When you say functions, now let's say for example we want to build application that calculates someone age, right? When you type their age, when you type your when you type your date of birth, and then what happen is that he will, when you type your date of birth, what happen that he will calculate the year of birth. What happen that you're going to calculate your that year and tell you you are 15 years, right? That is a function. That's what we call a function. So a function is actually a block of code that perform a specific task. So they are block of code. A function is not one code, right? It's not one code. They are block of code. Are we together? They are block of what? Of code that perform what? A specific function. But by the end of the day, I'm going to be building an application that calculates a student age. Maybe someone is when you write 1994, 1995, 1986, it will tell you your date is this. So we are going to use function to do that. But notwithstanding, before we do that, let's look at the global and local variable. Now, now, for example, now as I said earlier, if you want to create an application that calculates student age or student age, then you're going to write what a function. Now, a function, as I said earlier, the global variables are variables that are called within what the function, right? They are variables that are called, sorry, they are variables that are called outside the function. So you store this variable outside the function, and you call them what within what the function. Now let's look at the global variable and the local variable. I hope from year to year you understand everything that's happening here, right? I hope you understand everything that happened in this code. Is there anything you don't understand here? Students, tell bro. The people are not hearing me. Oh. Na don tire, the head don full. Eh? Ndị Freke, Uzoma, Adamu, the head don full. Can you please have a good mindset to be gritty, gritty or be gritty or gritty. I don't know what they call us. All right. No, so na Cynthia dey always talk about grit. Grit. Cynthia, are you gritty? Cynthia, are you there? All right. What of Usometa or Usometa? Wetin be their name sef? Asomita. Asomita, how far now? Eh? Did you dey or you didn't dey? That means not dey enter na abi? Asometa, are you romancing me? You should be hello. Speak like a student. Uh, I'm greeting you now. How far now? No, see, your network no dey always good. But all right. Yeah, I want to greet you now, whether he didn't there or he did. So he didn't respond. I'm not to okay. Okay, Instagram abi. Okay. What did they do in the Instagram? Okay. Well, I don't hear about Instagram well, but I don't even for one day think of opening it or no, I'm not in Instagram. I'm only in LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. Facebook just and if you want to see me more is Twitter. I'm not even on Facebook. I can't remember the last time I posted on Facebook. And if you want to see me more and more, it's a linkage. Linkage. I'm always updating on Linkage. I have communities there also. Then GitHub. Don't finish. Yeah. Yes. Now of course. LinkedIn. Sure. Okay, guys. All right. Let fire down. So let's move ahead. Just everything small, small. Yeah? Okay, now we want to write a function. In Python, if you want to write a function, you need to define the function. Use what we call div. Then the name of the function, right? Let me say div then the name of the function. So now functions, we have two types of functions. The other function we have, I tell you, I hope I'm recording. Okay, we have two types of functions. Now we have inbuilt function. Inbuilt functions are like this one you are seeing here, print, right? And this one you see uh, type. So those are functions, right? So we also have a library or customized functions, which is the one we are writing by ourselves. Is that okay? The one we are writing out by ourselves are also the um, customized or library word functions. While we have inbuilt functions, and there are a lot of functions. The one we can import and use. If you have application to write, you need to make use of those functions. We can just import those applications and use those functions. But now we're not talking about more of functions. We'll come to that. But what we are talking about now is what we call the variables. We are still talking about variables, the global and the local variables. We understand that the variables are containers that stored what data that stored information that stored objects in our softwares or in our or in our programs. So now we're going to be looking at the global variable. And why is the global variable so important? Now, why the global variable is so important that, for example, now you have written a particular software and you are written a particular function like doing a particular task, and you want to import this function to reuse that function in another software. You need to import this function, and if this function is not global variable, you can't call them outside the function. So now let me explain what I'm talking about more. There you can define this as let's say our phone. What will be the one of the function? Let's say age underscore car, like age calculation function. So function has to come with at the end. It has to end with open and close. And function has what we call uh, keyword argument and parameters. We're going to be looking at our parameters. What you're going to be having inside this place. What are we going to be having here? Keyword argument and parameters. But I will not be talking about the parameters for now. Let's focus about the global and local variable. So next you have this what we call what's the name? What's they call this? This semicolon. Uh, this semicolon, right? Huh? That is not question mark. Oh. Don't come again. Oh. What do you mean question mark? This one here now. Semicolon, Nabi. Yeah, it's called semicolon. Okay, column. Okay. Now, here is actually where we are going to write a bulk of our code, right? Now, let me tell you the difference between what's they call it? Now, if you a difference between global variable. Now, let me write another global variable. I can say um, production, eh, production count equals to, let's say, 250, 250, right? Now, this is actually a global variable. So let me give it a global variable, right? Now let me just call this one my products 200. So this one is actually a local variable. Do you know why this man is a local variable? I can't call this man outside this function. Now, okay, let me go outside this function now. So when you enter here, you are inside the function. When you come here, you are outside the function. Then let me try to print this my products. You can see we can't print that out because inside the outside the function. We can't print that out. You can see it there. If you start to print it out, it will show you this line. It means that when you look at it, you can see product is not defined. It means that there is no such thing like my product. Are we seeing it, guys? So means that product is not defined, means that no such thing like my product. If I'm to print this, I will get not defined error. You can see name my product is not what defined. Means that this particular object, it is not found. It didn't you don't write it. It is hidden there. You understand? It is what? It didn't there. It's not on your programs. So he didn't write this function. So he didn't write this variable. That way telling you this variable what cannot be defined. The name error, name my product, which is the variable, is not defined. But if we are to call this particular product card, which is a global variable, let me store this, which is a global variable. We have a product card, then you print it. You can see what we have here, right? You can see we have 250. So you haven't seen the difference between local variable and a global variable. Respond and respond now. Ah, wow. Ah, okay. Let me, in fact, I don't try my ask question. Um, question time. I see at the top. I know the answer. Top at the talk to myself. Almost. Uzoma, Uzo, 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 Uzamaka. Is Uzamaka there? Uzamaka, what is the difference between global variable and local variable? Eh? Uzoma, is Uzoma not there? Ah, okay, fire down. It is. Ah, blessing. Uzamaka have killed me. Uzamaka have destroyed me. Ah, it is well. In the bracket, what the difference between global variable and local variable? You have few seconds. Good. Huh? Huh? I don't get explain. Yes. Uh, Okay. So global variables uh, are those variables that can be called outside and inside the function. They are not limited to where you can call them. I can even decide to call this variable here. I can say this production. Later I call the production. You can see the production card is here. I just call it and use it to do whatever I want to do with it, right? But the global, my product global variable, you can't call it outside that function, right? It's not possible. You can't call it outside the function. You can also convert this uh, local variable to global variable by using what we call global functions. So um, okay, by using what we call global, eh, you can use what we call global functions. You can be able to call that particular object as what a global word variable. You can call it outside the function by using the keyword global. So okay, this is what it is. Yes, I'm with you. Okay. Yes, continue. In what? Mm, mm. Okay. No. Python, I said it earlier. Python does not recognize all those syntax like you have in CSS, in other programming language. That's why Python is very easy and very the Python code is very easy and very clean. So Python does not. What Python recognize much is what we call indentation. Now, for example, now if you write this thing here, come here and put space, it will not work. And come here and put space, it will not work. So all the code have to be in the same line. So indentation is very, very important. We are not getting to that, but notwithstanding. So as I was saying earlier, if you want to if you want to convert this man, okay, let's just before we convert that, let's see how we can call our function. Now if you want to call your function, you come here and copy this man and okay h card, then this is how you call what? This is how you can call I think indentation is issue. I think indentation. Okay. So we call this man, this is what we call this function. If there is function that has keyword argument, we can add box argument here, but we don't really need to use box argument for that. But we'll come to that area later. So let's run this code. Um, okay, sorry, we have to pass in an argument here, which is my um that as this has to be printed at it has to be printed, right? All right, let me try to print that. Put that. It's normal sense. Okay. Let, let, let's try. Bear out. Let's print that as it's printing none, right? Printing as none. So what we can do here is to return this function. So if we can return this function now, calling my cat. My let's return that. See what happened. Um, um, okay. We have to print this. I think we should print this. Alright. This should work. Okay, right. It's working now. So we have to print it before we can be able to call this out. We didn't need to print. So you print this, then you call. So whenever you call this age, this age calculation, you're going to give it 300, right? So now remember, we are calling this outside the function now because we can't call my product as the variable. But whenever we want to call, we call this function and age as age. Age. When we call the age, when we call this age, what happened that it's going to print out automatically, print out the age of the student. We also convert this man to a local variable by using global variable by using what we call global keyword. So global variable. They can now come here and assign that variable here, right? Okay. Then you can now assign selection. Okay. Okay, we need to assign this. We need to assign this particular variable, which is very, very important. Okay, let's do that quickly. Uh, why is it not called global? Let's goes to let's try calling this. Let's try calling this after the function. See, see what's gonna happen. Let's print this out. Okay. So coming. Okay. Try to print this out. Okay. Convert this in my group. So let's try something. If we can print this outside my, if we can print outside the function. Okay. You can see here we have my products. It can now be repeated that outside the function. The function is not defined. Okay. Should we be printed out here? Okay. Let's try to print it out here. See. Let's try to print it out inside the. Okay. Why is it showing us red? Okay. Argument product name does not define. I don't know why it's not converting to global variable, but I believe that will be fixed. That will be fixed. Let's just undo and then continue to print stuff. So what I want to do now is I want us to build one application before we wrap up this class. Application that will calculate ages. So let me let me do something. Let's just say here we have a let's just get a global variable. Let's use a global variable first. Year, year, years of years of birth. date of birth. So, so let's say years of birth should be 1980, right? Okay, now this 1980, we are writing a function that will calculate our age, right? The age of student or maybe the age of a particular person. So what we need to do first is that's what we call input. Now all this while we've been writing our code, there is no provision where we can write input on how to use an input in Python, where we can be able to type something in the terminal. If you notice, there's no way we can type something in the terminal. Have you seen that before? All this while by using terminal, is there any way you can type something in the terminal? There's no way you can type something in the terminal. So we are going to use an input. So the input is actually record give us a provision to be able to write a function. So here we can get a variable, uh, say age underscore cal- calculation equals to. Now we have an input. Hmm? We have an we have an input. In this input we have this. So inside here you can say enter years of birth. Hmm? So we can say enter years of birth, right? Um, okay, let's undo this. So that whenever we run this function, it will now run the years of birth. Um, they said age calculator is not defined. They run that again. Okay. Now, if you see something now, enter years of birth, you can type something here. But we are having a problem here, we should be space so that we can indicate that we will be able to type something here. So I put this and click space. Then what I need to do, run the code again. Run the code again. So when you run the code, they say enter years of birth. I can say 200 and enter, nothing happen, right? Right? Are we together? So what we want to do now is that when they enter age of their birth, we need to calculate. We need to do what? Calculate. Now, so we are going to be working with what we call if statement, right? Going to use if statement. We want to talk about if statement. If this thing is this, do this. If this thing is this, okay, you can say, okay, if age of birth, that means if they enter the age of birth, what will happen, right? If they enter 200, now listen, oh, if they enter 200, students, are we together? Good. Now, if they enter 200 here, eh, what should happen? Now, what do we want to achieve? We want to calculate the age, right? If they enter that age, how are we going to calculate this person's age? Can somebody tell us how we usually calculate age in mathematical form? Somebody in the one of the students, anybody randomly. If you don't call, I'll pick somebody. You know who I usually pick, so the person know himself, herself. Okay, good. Now, what you do is that what is the current year? How can we know the current year our user have entered? Eh? Eh? Based on input, right? So remember that the input have a variable, right? Right? Eh? Remember the input have a variable. What's the variable of that input? Eh? Okay, 200. So what we'll see is that not 200 because you don't know the input the user will put. They can put any number. So we can use age calculator, which is the variable that is storing our input, right? So age calculator minus what? What year do we have? What year are we now? 2023. Eh? Or instead of writing 2023, what you can do, you can come here and write year. right? Current year under our global variable, current underscore year equals to so we can say age minus current year. Now we have we have a problem here. Do you know how we have a problem? We need to save this in a variable. Oh, please mute your mic now. Mute your mic. Now, if you print this out, if you print this out, if you print this out, why do you have a problem here now? Current underscore year. Why is he giving us red line? That red line is not something. Why is he giving us red line? Current equals to, okay. We should put 2023. Okay. All right. So now when we run this code, hmm, then we put our year 90, oh, 98, 9, 98. Then we type, eh, we are having an error here. It said append types for stream and int. Who can explain what happened here? Maybe we type enter, this is what they are telling us. Because to try to do minus, you have to run calculation here, right? So who can tell us what happened? Eh? Who can tell us what happened here? Now, what really happened here is that if you notice here, we have this, uh, what's they call it? What's the name of this? Is it quotation mark, Abi? Quotation. Now we have quotation. Remember earlier, we say stream. If you want to convert stream, stream is quotation, right? Why the one without quotation is integer? Are we together? Are we together? Just like what we are trying to do now, we are just like calculating a plus b. Would that work? Will it work? It can't work. So now that our input we are getting here is string, not integer. So what we need to do is that we need to convert whatever we are putting here to integer. Are we together? uh, we need to convert it to integer to be able to calculate the age. So what we need to do is this input, you can come here and put int, which is what they are telling here, int. Then inside that int, we open our bracket, then close our bracket there. So we've been able to wrap this input to integer. Now, if you run the code, we'll not be able to have unsupported append operand types for stream and int. So let's run this code again and see what's going to happen. Now, when we run the code now and type our age 1980, now nothing happened. But we have already calculated the age. So what are we not doing wrong here? Now, what we are not doing is that there is no variable where we are storing our age. We just calculate two variable. So what we need to do, we need to add a variable that store our age. I can say final age, final age equals to. Then we do our calculation. Then we also need to print that out. If you want to display anything you are typing, I use print, right? We also need to print that out and say final age, right? Now, if if this age, right? Now, they also do what we call restriction. We want people from 18 years and above that will be able to verify that information. But we are not 18 years. If your year is not 18 years and above, then we'll tell you, please, you are not, You are not up to that age. But we stand, we'll come to that. So we come here, we're having an issue here. What is the issue? We're having indentation error. Indentation error. I think that should, yes, no, that should resolve the issue now. Indentation error. So let's enter our age. 98, 99, 1978. So I can say, what's our final year? Our final year now. Yeah? What's our final year? Yeah? Why is it 2023? Yes. Yes. Current year minus age calculation. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, uh, current year minus good. This should help to resolve the issue. I can say, okay, hello, I write something. Hello, you are right. Hello, you are final year, right? Final year old. Eh? Right? Hmm? So that's this what we call concatenation. We concatenate the hello you are and then final age. Now if we print this, let's see what we have. Then we enter like 1927. Hello, you are what? 96 years old. Are we there? Are we there? So if you if you say enter year of birth, I put 1990 and enter, you are 33 years old. So this is actually a very simple application that can calculate age of people. Are we together? So you can see that everything you are doing on a software, it all depends on you. It can convert this application to run this application in Windows. You can use it to run it in Windows so that, oh, who is doing this now? Remember, this is a brain work. This is brain work. This is not something. This is a brain work. This is a brain work. Now, another thing we want to do now is that final one, we want to make sure that before it will display your age, it will check that your age is 18 years. So what we are going to do here is to add another global variable, um, average age. Average underscore age equals to 18, right? Huh? Um, so what we need to do here, remember we have if age, right? That means if somebody enters something here, they should calculate whatever the person entered and give us the final answer. Are we communicating? Brain the hot, brain the hot, don't worry. Oga, don't finish. This is the last one, no verse here. So now what are we going to do here now? What are we going to do here? Hmm? We are going to use uh, what we call comparison operators. But remember, we are not gotten up to this stage. But me, I like whatever I'm teaching. I build small application first before we graduate to the bigger one. So as we are going, so we're going to be looking at comparison operators. I know we are not gotten up to that age stage first, but let me do that. Comparison operator is to compare something together. Obi must be a boy and must be 18 years old, right? That is what we call comparison word operator. Obi must be 18 years old and, so what we say, if age then and, eh? Eh? Okay, if let's say if age is greater than, this greater than abi or lesser than. If this man greater or lesser than, please help me out. Okay, greater than if, okay, okay, Is it greater than? Uh, if you let, I'm coming. We have a problem here. This thing won't work because we are not okay. I'm coming. Somebody that is born in, somebody that is not up to 18 years. Somebody that is not up to 18 years. What year is that? I know which year is the person giving birth. Which year? Because we are not collecting age here. We are collecting years, right? We are collecting years. This is where we are collecting age. Okay, okay. Um, okay, okay. It will still not work. It will not still work because what you are doing here is okay. See what we do here. Before the result will be printed out, this is where we have our final age, abi. Remember, this is what we are having our real age, which is 20, 21, 23, 24, any kind of age. But it will not work in this first argument because what we are getting here is not age, but we are getting years, right? And we want to check if somebody that is not up to 18 years try to calculate his age, we tell them that the person is not up to 18 years, that should go and try again later, right? So what you are going to no, it still will not work. You know why? Okay, let's try this. Okay, if age is greater than or lesser than, uh, lesser than 2006, uh, no, it still will not work. We need to have another argument. It still will not work because you know why it will not work. Uh, it will not work if okay, if age is greater than, we are using lesser than, greater than 2006, uh, right? Uh, right? It should print this. It should print this. Now let's try something. Let's run the code and try something. Let's use 2006. Did it print anything? Uh, so we are going to do that. It didn't print anything now. When it didn't print anything. Did the code run? This argument did not run because it did not meet up the standard, right? Did not meet up our argument. So, but what we want to do now that we want to write a program. If you put 2006, he will tell you something. So, what we are going to do, we use what we call S. We use S. So S, we are printing something else. Sorry, sorry, are you are not you are not okay. I want to do a bit of complex here. There, I want to still calculate. I want to still calculate. I want to still calculate what is here. Hmm? I want to still calculate what is here. I want to still calculate what is here. I want to calculate whatever the person put here. I want to calculate it and still tell him that your age is also age. You are not up to 18. I hope that is okay. You understand what I tried to do here, right? So I want to still calculate the age and bring the age out. So I will say, sorry, you are you are then the year, eh? And you are the year. You are 70 years old under what are we going to expected year? Expected year is 18, right? And above. So Let's try run this code and see what we're going to get back